I had been feeling overwhelmed in the city and hoped that my grandmother's beach house would give me some peace. It was just a few weeks ago. I thought it would be a perfect place to capture the beauty of nature and sort through my thoughts on my career. When I arrived, everything felt familiar but different. The cottage had creaky wooden floors and windows that rattled with the ocean breeze. The view of the churning waves below was still breathtaking, and the wildflowers in the garden reminded me of childhood summers spent running around. It was my second night there when I sat down to review my photos. I noticed something odd. There were blurry images on my camera. I squinted, trying to make them out. They looked like figures standing at the water's edge. I figured my eyes were just playing tricks on me. I told myself it was probably a glitch and went to bed, dismissing it as fatigue settling in. As the days went by, strange things started to happen. I found objects misplaced, like my favorite coffee mug, which had somehow ended up on a shelf instead of the kitchen counter. I brushed this off, thinking I must have just forgotten where I put it. But then, I heard faint laughter echoing through the walls. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but after hearing it for the third time, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. One evening, as twilight descended, I felt a chill that wrapped around me like ice. Shadows stretched across the room, looking disproportionate and unnatural. My heart raced every time I tried to check the source of the laughter. I'd open doors, only to find empty rooms. The stillness sent shivers down my spine. I thought maybe I just needed to explore outside. I walked out to the beach, feeling the sand beneath my feet and the cool wind biting at my skin. But there was nothing there except the sound of crashing waves. I was starting to wonder if I was losing my mind. Was I haunted by memories, or was it just the solitude messing with me? I kept checking the photographs, but they only raised more questions. In one, I could almost see a faint outline in the distance. I thought I must have imagined it. Then, on my last night, the laughter returned, louder and clearer, almost inviting. My heart sank. I stood in the living room, frozen, listening. Finally, I mustered the courage to go look. I moved toward the door, but before I could open it, a chill ran down my spine and dread crept in. Then I heard a whisper, "Come play with us." I turned, and nobody was there. The air thickened. I held my breath, clutching the doorframe. The laughter echoed around me, and I knew I needed to leave, but my feet wouldn't move. In a panic, I grabbed my camera, rushing outside. The moon lit the beach like a spotlight. I turned back to the house, and in that moment, I saw them. Figures standing just beyond the waves, their faces turned towards me, smiling. I stumbled back, heart racing, and realized I wasn't alone at all. I felt paralyzed. The figures remained motionless, an eerie calm enveloping them. I blinked hard, trying to convince myself my mind was just playing tricks. But they were there, distinct against the moonlight. I stumbled backward, heart pounding wildly in my chest. After what felt like an eternity, I forced myself to look away. I turned to run back to the house, but my feet sank into the sand, as if the ground itself was holding me in place. The laughter grew louder, wrapping around me like a tangible force, bringing with it a wave of memories. Memories I didn't quite recognize, but felt tied to somehow. I finally broke free, sprinting towards the cottage, my breath quickening. I slammed the door behind me and locked it, pressing my back against it as I tried to calm down. I slid down to the floor, heart still racing. I could hear my own heartbeat echoing in the silence. I grabbed my camera and went through the images again, trying to make sense of everything. The blurry figures were there, but now they seemed sharper. I focused on one photo in particular and felt a knot in my stomach. The outline in the distance was clearer now. It wasn't just a figure. It looked like a child. My breath hitched at the thought. Fear washed over me. I scanned the room again. "What are you?" I whispered, still trying to rationalize the situation. I felt foolish talking to nothing, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were waiting for me to join them. I paced the small room, running my hands through my hair. The laughter played through my mind, sweet but unsettling.
I needed to know more. If I was going to leave, I had to understand what was happening. I rummaged through my grandmother's old books, looking for anything that could explain it. Suddenly, I heard scratching at the window. I froze, becoming acutely aware of the darkness closing in around me. My heart thundered louder than ever. It was a soft, rhythmic noise, almost like small fingers tapping. My curiosity battled with the urge to hide. I looked outside, and my breath caught again. There was a child standing just outside, their small silhouette illuminated by the moon. They were staring straight at me, their head tilted slightly, the smile still plastered on their face. Instinct kicked in, and I threw open the window, gasping, "What do you want?" The child didn't answer verbally. Instead, they pointed towards the beach. I hesitated, fear coursing through me. Part of me wanted to leap out and follow, while another part urged me to run far away. Just then, the laughter erupted again, ringing in my ears. I slammed the window shut, backing away. My heart felt like it would burst. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a game. Something deeper and darker was happening, and I was in way over my head. That's when the lights flickered off in the house. The world around me plunged into darkness, isolating me from everything familiar.
I heard footsteps behind me, soft and light, as if someone were darting around. I turned, and that's when I saw it, a figure brushing past, its laughter echoing through the room. I was not alone, not at all. I pressed my back against the wall, breaths coming in shallow gasps. The laughter echoed around me, taunting, almost as if it were coming from everywhere at once. I squinted into the dark room, trying to catch sight of anything. I had to be imagining it, but the lingering sound of soft footsteps, quick and playful, sent chills down my spine. Then, without warning, a soft glow illuminated the room. I turned, startled, to find a thin beam of light slipping through the cracks around the door. It flickered, as if signaling someone, or something, awaiting me outside. My heart raced, pounding in my ears. Should I open the door? Part of me wanted to flee, to escape this nightmare, but another part screamed I had to know. Summoning my courage, I crept towards the door, my hand trembling as I reached for the knob. At the last second, I hesitated. What if it was them? What if those figures were playing with me, drawing me back into their game? I took a deep breath, my thoughts racing. If I didn't confront it now, would I ever find peace? I twisted the knob and pulled the door open slowly, heart pounding hard in my chest. The light dimmed as I stepped outside, and I was met with the cool night air. The beach was still, eerily silent. The laughter that once filled my head was replaced by the sound of crashing waves. I walked cautiously down the steps and onto the sandy shore. My breath caught again when I spotted the child from before. They stood at the water's edge, now shrouded in shadow. I called out, "Are you okay?" But my voice felt small and fragile against the ocean roar. The child turned, their smile widening, revealing something unsettling in its innocence. A glint of mischief? They pointed towards the sea, and I followed their gesture, my heart sinking as I spotted shapes surfacing in the water. Figures, similar to those from earlier, floated at the edge, heads bobbing in the dark water. My stomach churned. I didn't want to play anymore. Fear consumed me, but I forced my legs to move, backing away from the water. That's when I noticed the footprints in the sand. Small, childlike prints going towards the ocean, fresh and unmistakable. A chilling realization dawned on me. They wanted me to follow. My instincts screamed to run back, but there was something magnetic about the figures in the water, pulling me closer. The child stepped back, swaying gently, beckoning me with a flick of their wrist. I felt a compulsion to obey, a strange curiosity drawn from my subconscious. Suddenly, the child's face changed. The smile vanished, replaced by a serious expression that chilled me to the bone. Their eyes darkened, becoming hollow like voids. They whispered without sound. A soft yet urgent chorus echoed only in my mind. A warning.
And then everything clicked. The laughter, the figures, the memories I couldn't grasp, they were linked. Something was drawing me into their world, pulling me towards a haunting truth. Just then, a huge wave crashed down, obscuring my view of the figures and making me lose my balance. When I regained my footing, everything felt wrong. The child was gone. The figures in the water had disappeared. I was alone, truly alone. But then I noticed something glimmering in the sand where the child had stood. I bent down, my hands shaking as I scooped it up. I stared at it, breath hitching in my throat. It was a small, delicately crafted locket, holding something inside. I opened it, my heart racing, only to find a faded photograph. I knew that face. I'd seen it before. It belonged to me. Questions flooded my mind, but as I glanced up, the laughter returned, now right behind me. I spun around, my heart thumping, and scanned the darkness. No one was there, just shadows playing tricks on my mind. I pressed the locket to my chest, unsure if it was providing comfort or drawing me deeper into this nightmare. I wanted to escape, to run back to the house and shut the door behind me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting, and it was aware of me. It was all too much. The laughter echoed again, teasing me, almost beckoning. I had to get out of here. Turning away from the shore, I began to walk briskly towards the house, but the sand shifted beneath my feet, and I stumbled. Looking down just as I did, another footprint marked the ground. It was just like the child's, newly made and leading back toward the water. Panic surged through me. I picked up my pace, half expecting to turn and find that child again, grinning with malicious joy. Instead, the beach lay silent, the waves rhythmically crashing. Were they laughing at me now? As I neared the house, I noticed the flickering light from a window. I didn't remember turning on any lights. I'd left in such a hurry. Was someone inside? Or was it yet another trick of my frazzled mind? I reached the door and hesitated. My finger hovered over the knob. Would they be waiting for me inside? Or worse, would they follow me? Taking a deep breath, I pushed it open and stepped inside, the familiar scent of salt and pine hitting me like a wave. The living room was empty, but oddly warm, the lamp casting soft shadows. I rushed to the window, but there was no sign of the figures or the child, just the ocean stretching endlessly under the moonlight. Then I felt it, a chill brushing against my neck. Someone was behind me. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. Footsteps, light and playful, danced just out of sight. I could feel them moving closer. I needed to know what was happening, but each question I had brought on more fear. What was the significance of the locket? Why had the child pointed to the ocean? I forced myself to focus. I couldn't let whatever this was take control.
As I called out into the dark, "Who's there?" the footsteps ceased. A heavy silence fell. I waited, breath hitching, wanting to bolt, but rooted in place. And then I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, the same child appeared again. Their face was twisted with that unsettling grin, but something was different this time. They held the locket in their tiny hands, mirroring my own. "Find me," they whispered, their voice carrying through the air like an echo of forgotten dreams. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, ringing out from all sides. It was louder this time, filling every corner of the room. I felt the ground beneath me begin to tremble, and the house warped around me. The walls pulsed, the laughter distorting, and I realized with horror that I was no longer in control. Just as I thought I might scream, the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness, and then everything vanished. I was left standing in an empty void, breathless and alone. That's when I saw it, a reflection of something in the darkness, creeping towards me, ready to unveil the truth I had been trying to escape. The darkness shifted, and I squinted into the void, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever was coming towards me. Was it the child again, or something worse? My heart raced as the reflection morphed into a silhouette, vague yet menacing, barely illuminated by an unseen light source. I took an involuntary step back, pressing my back against what felt like a wall, though it was hard to tell in this inky blackness. "Show yourself," I shouted, my voice trembling. The figure paused, but did not respond. Fear wrapped its fingers around my throat, making every breath feel like a chore. Then, without warning, the room exploded back into existence. I found myself standing in the living room again, but everything felt different. The air crackled with energy, and the shadows flickered more erratically, as if they were alive. The locket slipped from my grasp and landed on the wooden floor with a dull thud. I swallowed hard, watching it gleam ominously. The child's laughter erupted again, still playful,
yet now layered with something sinister. I clenched my fists, resentment replacing my fear. "What do you want from me?" I yelled into the uncertain void. As if in answer, the air shifted, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Slowly, the light from the lamp flickered and dimmed, revealing the landscape beyond the window. My heart sank as I saw the ocean again, but this time it wasn't calm. The waves surged like dark arms clawing at the sand. Then I noticed movement near the shore. Figures emerged, distorted and hazy. Adults, their faces twisted and shadowy, laughed heartlessly as they danced along the water's edge. They seemed to be calling to me, their mouths opening wide in an endless cheer, but their voices were a jumbled cacophony that filled the room with dread.
I wanted to scream, to close my eyes and pretend this wasn't happening, but I felt compelled to watch. Suddenly, the child appeared again, now closer. Their eyes were wide and filled with an unsettling curiosity, missing the playful innocence from before. "Find me," they said again, but with urgency. Without thinking, I dashed for the door, my instincts kicking in. I yanked it open, the cold air rushing in and almost knocking me off my feet. I didn't look back. I sprinted down the path leading to the beach, the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. As I stepped onto the sand, the world around me changed. Everything was darker, the moon obscured by clouds. I scanned the horizon. The figures were gone, swallowed by the night. But the laughter still echoed, circling around me like a predator. The child's image flitted through my mind, the locket still lying inside the house, waiting. I froze, remembering how it had mirrored the child's own. What if it was a key, a connection to them? But the deeper my thoughts swirled, the more desperate I felt. "Wait," I called out, my voice breaking beneath the weight of my fear. "Where are you?" And that's when I noticed it. Sprawled in the sand just a few feet away was an object half buried, a small wooden box, weathered and worn. Curious yet frightened, I stepped toward it, drawn as if it held the answers I so desperately sought. Just then, the waves crashed violently, and the laughter grew louder. Something was about to change, and I had a feeling I wouldn't like it. I knelt down and brushed the sand off the wooden box. The surface felt rough and cold under my fingers. It was small and unassuming, but something about it thrummed with an energy I couldn't ignore. I hesitated, torn between my instincts to run and the need to discover what lay inside. As I carefully lifted the lid, creaking like a door long forgotten, a gust of wind swept across the beach, sending a shiver down my spine. The inside of the box was empty, except for a crumpled piece of paper folded neatly at the bottom. My heart raced as I pulled it out, sensing it might hold answers, a glimmer of hope in this chaos. Unfolding it, I found uneven writing sprawled across the page. My breath caught as I read the words. "The key lies within. You are the guardian." Confusion flooded my mind. What did that mean? Who had written this? Just then, I heard the laughter again, closer this time, accompanied by whispers that curled around me like fog. Fear surged through me. I looked around, searching for the source. The beach was still empty, but in the distance, shadows flitted just beyond the reach of the moonlight. "Is someone there?" I called out, my voice cracking. No answer came, only the waves crashing relentlessly. With a knot tightening in my stomach, I turned my attention back to the wooden box. Maybe it wasn't an answer, but a warning, a caution not to trust what I found. Suddenly, the shadows merged into something more definite. They coalesced on the beach into faces I recognized, those twisted expressions from before. They laughed merrily, their voices echoed and worked, sounding as if they were calling from a great distance. I stumbled back, fighting the urge to scream. The child appeared again, standing at the edge of the water. "You have to find me. It's the only way," they insisted, their voice tinged with urgency and a hint of desperation. My instincts flared larger than ever. "Where?" I yelled. "What do you mean?" But instead of a reply, the figure vanished, leaving me squinting into the darkness. Panic surged. The laughter escalated, rising into a fever pitch like a storm about to break. I gripped the box tightly, the creaking wood pressing into my palm. Just as I considered running back, I heard a low rumble beneath the ground, like a giant waking from a deep slumber. The sand beneath me began to shift, and the ocean waves swelled higher, each crash echoing with a menacing growl.
Everything felt unstable. My breath came in sharp bursts. I had to make a choice. The box could hold something vital, but the laughter and shadows beckoned me to abandon it. I glanced between the growing tide and the empty horizon. A glimmer of light flickered behind me in the direction of the house, distant yet beckoning. I had no idea what that flicker meant, but I sensed it was important. The world felt alive with unseen forces, and time was ticking away. I had to act. Then everything went black. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me, swallowing every sound and sense. I felt weightless, like I was floating, but then I slammed onto the ground, sand scraping against my skin. I blinked, trying to adjust to the dim light surrounding me. The world was different now. I was inside the house somehow. The walls loomed high, shadows pooling in every corner. The wooden box rested beside me, the paper still clutched in my hand. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. Panic clawed at me. Had I passed out? Did the beach and the laughter just vanish, or was I trapped in an entirely different nightmare? I stepped back, my eyes darting around the room. Everything felt eerily silent, as if the house itself were holding its breath. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted something lying on the coffee table. A photograph. I approached it cautiously, each step echoing in the suffocating quiet. The image was faded, the edges curled and worn. I picked it up and stared. It was a picture of the child I had seen on the beach, standing at the water's edge, but in this photo, they were smiling. They looked so happy, as if they belonged there. My chest tightened. Who are they? Why did they feel so familiar? I turned it over, hoping for answers written in the fading ink. Instead, there was nothing, just a simple line etched into the fabric of the paper. Find the door. Confusion and dread washed over me. Suddenly, the air shifted.
A chill crept through the room, raising the hairs on the back of my neck. The laughter returned, softly now, distant yet unmistakable. I looked toward the hallway where the sound seemed to trail off. It was a lure, a call I wasn't sure I wanted to follow. Instinct screamed at me to back away, to escape this house, but the urge to discover the truth was stronger. I peeked out of the room, cautiously making my way down the dim hallway. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting in the faint light, and I felt unseen eyes watching me. I came to a door at the end, old and weathered, its surface smooth under my fingertips. A sense of urgency filled me, matching the booming laughter in my ears. The key lies within, I murmured to myself, recalling the words from the paper. What key? I glanced back, half expecting to see the child standing behind me, urging me forward. But all I saw was the flickering light of the living room lamp that barely illuminated the darkness. I pressed my ear against the door, listening intently. Then I heard it, a faint whimpering sound, like someone crying. My stomach dropped. I didn't want to go in, but I needed to know. I twisted the doorknob slowly, the metallic click echoing against the stillness. As I pushed the door open, a rush of cold air enveloped me, and the darkness inside yawned wide. That's when I saw it, a glint of something metal lying on the floor, just beyond the threshold. I stepped over the threshold, feeling the blood drain from my face. What was waiting for me on the other side? The moment I stepped into the room, my senses heightened. I held my breath, scanning the darkness. The glint of metal caught my eye again, shimmering under the very little light that seeped through. A small key. My fingers trembled as I moved closer, feeling an inexplicable pull toward it. I knelt down, lifting it gingerly with shaking hands. It was cold and tarnished, as if it had been there for ages. My mind raced. Could this be the key mentioned in the note? What door did it unlock? The whimpering sound grew louder, more urgent, echoing off the walls around me. I glanced around the dim room. What was I doing here? I didn't want to be this close to whatever was causing that noise. It felt wrong, but curiosity overpowered my fear. As I stood up, the key cold in my palm, I noticed something strange. The walls were lined with photographs, each one faded and torn. I took a closer look at one, and my stomach twisted. There was the same child from the first photograph. They stood with a group of kids, all smiling,
their faces lit with joy, but their eyes, all of them, seemed hollow. "Stop looking," a voice rang out from the shadows. I jumped, nearly dropping the key. My heart raced as I turned, peering into the dark corners of the room. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. No answer, just that persistent whimpering, now sounding more like muffled sobs.
I took a step toward the noise, the other shadows in the room retreating as if the darkness had a mind of its own. "Please," the voice came again. It was a child, small and scared. "Help me find it." "Find what?" I shouted back, desperation creeping into my voice. "What do you want from me?" There was a moment's silence. Then the child's voice came again, softer this time. The door is locked." My heart sank. I had the key. I felt a surge of determination mixed with dread. I had to find that door. The thought of it somehow connecting to the lost laughter, the photographs, and the unseen eyes made me shiver. Spurred on by the wails of the child, I turned to check the other walls. I walked slowly, every step echoing, every room in the house swaying with uncertainty. "Where is it?" I whispered to myself. That's when I saw it, a faint outline of a door I hadn't noticed before, camouflaged against the wall. It was smaller than the other doors, nestled between two shelves stacked with dusty books. I approached it, my heart thudding in my chest. But as I reached the door, a sudden chill rushed through the air, pushing me back. The key slipped from my fingers, clattering to the floor. The laughter from earlier faded to a whisper, and in its place, I heard a different sound, a low growl, like something stirred in the depths of the shadows. I leaned against the door for support, panic clawing at my throat. I had to get out, but that child, the sobs echoed in my mind. I glanced back down the hallway toward the living room. Was it too late to turn back? Someone was in the house with me, and as more shadows flickered at the edges of my sight, I wondered if I'd find more than just answers if I dared to push the door open. I hesitated, heart racing, as the growl wrapped around me like a vice. Was it real? My instincts screamed at me to run, to flee the darkness that felt alive, but the child's pleas kept me rooted to the spot. I couldn't abandon them. Closing my eyes, I took a shaky breath. I had to focus. I needed to get that key. It had fallen behind me, near the base of the door, almost out of reach. I crouched down, the rough floor scraping my knees, and grabbed the key. A glance back at the door made my stomach twist. The outline seemed to shimmer and fade momentarily, mocking me. "Please," the child's voice echoed again, desperate and pleading. I felt a surge of resolve push back the shadows creeping into my mind. I had to try. With trembling fingers, I slid the key into the small, rusted lock. It felt like time slowed. The growl deepened, reverberating off the walls, making me second-guess my choice. What was behind this door? I twisted the key, the metallic sound slicing through the silence. The lock clicked, and a wave of cold air rushed out, carrying with it a faint scent of decay and something else, something sweet but wrong. The door creaked open, revealing a small space beyond, dimly lit by an oil lamp sputtering at the far end. I couldn't see much inside, but I sensed the shadows dance, shifting as if waiting for me to step in. "Please, help me," the child begged again, their voice trembling with urgency. I squinted into the room, searching for any sign of them. As I took a step inside, the door slammed shut behind me, plunging me into darkness. The sound of the growl intensified, now mixed with a chorus of whispers. Panic washed over me. I spun around, but the door wouldn't budge. "Show yourself," I shouted, hoping against hope that my voice would break through whatever force held me captive. The whispers grew louder, turning into incoherent murmurs. My heart raced. Where was the child? I could feel the coldness creeping closer, a tangible weight settling over my shoulders. I focused on the lamp's flickering light, trying to make out shapes. In the corner of the room, something moved. I squinted. There it was, a small figure. I approached slowly, heart thudding in my chest. But as I drew closer, a flicker of understanding set in. It was a broken doll, its face chipped and hollow, missing an eye, It lay on the ground amidst dust and cobwebs, but there was something in its presence that sent a chill through me. "Is this what you wanted?" I whispered, feeling foolish, but that child's voice echoed in my mind again, entwined with the whispers swirling around me. Suddenly, the air shifted, an oppressive pressure building all around me. The walls seemed to close in, and fear clawed at my chest. I had to get out before whatever this was consumed me. Just then, I spotted a small drawer beneath the lamp. With trembling hands, I yanked it open. Inside lay a crumbly piece of paper. I unfolded it, my eyes scanning the fading writing. "Find the light," it read, the words barely visible. "Save us." That was the moment the room dimmed completely. The whispers turned to shrieks. Something was coming for me, and I was running out of time. I had to find a light, and fast. I shoved the note deep into my pocket and turned in a frantic search for salvation. Panic surged through me as the shadows converged in every corner, thickening like a storm ready to break. I stumbled around the cramped space, feeling the weight of dozens of unseen eyes focused on me, their presence feeding the fear coursing through my veins. A guttural chuckle echoed through the darkness, intertwining with the desperation in my chest. "Find the light," I whispered to myself, searching for anything that might illuminate the oppressive gloom that surrounded me. The flickering oil lamp seemed to taunt me from across the room, its small flames struggling to hold back the shadows. I could hear the fading cries of the child drifting through the air, binding me tighter to the obligation to save them. "Where?" I yelled, my voice swallowed by the crumbling walls. A flicker of movement caught my attention.
In the far corner, a piece of furniture caught the glow from the lamp, a mirrored cabinet, shrouded in shadows but glimmering faintly. I rushed towards it, thoughts racing. It might have something, anything that could help me escape this nightmare. I fumbled at the door handle, the metal cool against my clammy palms, and pulled it open. Inside, different objects lay scattered, forgotten relics of another time. My heart thudded louder as I rifled through dusty trinkets, feeling the weight of my urgency magnify with each moment ticking away. I found an array of forgotten treasures, old photographs, seashells, and eventually tucked aside a tarnished lantern. It felt right, a sense of connection urging me to lift it out. I yanked it free, heart racing. "Just one match," I muttered, praying it would work. I showed no hesitation. I rummaged my pockets for the box of matches I had borrowed from the kitchen. My fingers trembled as I struck one against the rough side, the spark igniting a thin flame. My breath hitched as I lit the lantern. An intense brilliance flooded the room, illuminating the once foreboding corners. Shadows shrieked as the light banished their power, retreating into the recesses of the walls. The whispers morphed into fleeting echoes, fading from my mind as the clarity of the room emerged. Then, from the corner of my vision, I saw her, the child, standing hesitantly among the shadows, her smile blossoming into something far less sinister. The hollow depths in her eyes flickered for a moment before she pointed toward the back of the room, guiding me through the fog of uncertainty. Heart pounding, I followed her lead, moving closer. She glanced at me, urging me forward as she seemed to dissolve into the air, the spark of familiarity igniting in my chest once more. But I wasn't done just yet. "Wait," I called out, regretting the helplessness in my voice. "Tell me where to find you." But she didn't respond, instead moving forward, beckoning me to follow into a growing light at the far end of the room. As I moved closer, I saw it, a doorway emerging from the shadows, glowing faintly like an ethereal passageway. I stepped toward it, the lantern light illuminating the details of the door, a gentle swirl of designs etched into the wood, almost reminiscent of the waves crashing outside. My heart raced as I grasped the handle, feeling the cool wood beneath my palm, but the air warped, a hissing sound reverberating through the space, reminding me that freedom might come with a cost. I hesitated, caught in the uncertainty of moving forward or retreating. Was there really an escape waiting for me on the other side? The child's laughter returned, echoing through my mind, soothing and sinister all at once. "Find me," she whispered, the invitation rich with longing. Closing my eyes, I summoned all the courage left inside me. I turned the handle and pushed the door open with resolve.
It groaned under the pressure, and the shimmering light enveloped me like a warm embrace. Suddenly, I found myself standing in the moonlit sand of the beach again, the sound of waves crashing living loud and triumphant in my ears. It felt surreal, a vivid return from the depths of that suffocating darkness. But where was the child? The laughter had faded, and for a moment I was relieved. Yet an unsettling sense gripped me as I scanned the emptiness around me. Had she gone on as I had, or was this a trick? The moon hung high above, casting silver beams across the shore, but unease throbbed in my chest. I turned back to the open door from which I had emerged, now just the darkened doorway to my grandmother's cottage, shadows swirling around it like ghosts refusing to let go. And then I noticed the footprints, small, childlike prints leading from the house into the ocean, vanishing at the water's edge. Was it her? Had she gone in and was lost to the depths I had almost succumbed to? I stood there, uncertainty twisting around me again, watching as the waves lapped playfully at the shore. The echoes of laughter rang distant yet near, stirring something deep within my heart. I still didn't understand it all. Maybe some questions would remain unanswered. Who that child really was, where she had gone, or what the true nature of that dark house was. But an awareness had shifted inside me, a new lens through which I saw the world. I turned away from the water, feeling the warmth of the lantern's glow still lingering in my hands, and took a deep breath, knowing this was not the end. But this was the beginning of a change I didn't fully comprehend. I stepped back, away, into the shadows cast by the house, leaving behind all I had not yet left behind.